Hello, and welcome to Being Invitational, a rebel's guide to trading old patterns for new possibilities. Published by Second Ascent Publishing, 2025. I'm Gary Lougher, and I am the author, and I will be your narrator for this audiobook. So let's get started. Introduction. Rebellion, in the context of this book, is not about chaos or defiance for its own sake. It is not rage without direction. Rebellion here means refusing to pass forward what diminishes us. It is the pause that allows us to choose differently and with the courage to create a new inheritance. To rebel is to say no to silence and yes to voice, no to disconnection and yes to belonging, no to perfectionism and yes to presence. Rebellion, then, is not destruction but creation, the radical act of living invitationally in a world that teaches us to inherit what we never chose. The pause, the invitation, and the beautiful question. Quitting, leaving, or changing something deeply woven into your life is never the end. It is always the beginning. At the heart of this work is a simple framework. Disinheritance, the old patterns you didn't choose but still carry. Invitation, the pause, the space between what was and what could be. Inheritance, the new future you create and hand forward. The pause is the most overlooked part of the human story. Viktor Frankl described it as the space between stimulus and response, and he called it the space of freedom. In that pause lives possibility. In that pause lies the chance to alter the course of your life. This book is about learning to live in the pause, to treat it as an invitation, not to get it right, but to step into what is possible. The sources of disinheritance. In the book, Rewilding Your Soul, I explored the forces that shape why so many of us feel restless, disconnected, and out of place in our own lives. I named 3 major sources of disinheritance. The first is toxic culture. This is the water we swim in, where worth is measured by busyness, consumption, and comparison. A culture that trains us to abandon our deeper knowing and call it success. Evolutionary mismatch. Our ancient biology colliding with modern life. We are wired for sunlight, movement, and close-knit tribes, yet live among screens, deadlines, and isolation. And the third is trauma. The wounds and adaptations we inherit in our bodies and nervous systems. Trauma does not only shape us individually, it echoes across families and generations. These forces rarely act in isolation. They reinforce each other. Trauma makes us vulnerable, culture exploits that vulnerability, and mismatch magnifies the strain. The result is disinheritance, living out patterns we never chose in a world that rarely reflects what we truly need. Why invitation? If rewilding your soul named the problem, being invitational offers the practice of response. The world is full of demands, advice, opinions, quick fixes. But transformation rarely happens because someone told us to change. Transformation begins with invitation. Invitation is gentle yet radical. It honors freedom. It opens a door instead of pushing someone through it. In a culture built on commentary, persuasion, and manipulation, to be invitational is an act of rebellion. The poets who point the way. Two poets stand at the heart of this work. Rainier Maria Rilke and David Whyte. Rilke, in his letters to a young poet, urged us not to chase quick answers, but to live the questions now. For Rilke, the unknown was not a void to fear, but a fertile ground for growth. His invitation was simple. Let your life be shaped by questions that deepen you. David Whyte, a contemporary poet and philosopher, calls these beautiful questions. He writes that a beautiful question shapes a life. Unlike answers, which tend to close things down, beautiful questions open us up. They call us forward into mystery, possibility, and courage. Together, they remind us that invitation is not only about what we do, it is also about how we live with questions that keep us awake to life. Living the beautiful question. A beautiful question is not something to be solved. It is a threshold. It is a doorway that invites you to step through into a different way of being. My own guiding question, the one I return to again and again, is this: how do I grow younger as I approach death? It's not a riddle. It's not something to answer once and for all. It's an invitation to live differently, to shed cynicism instead of hope, to let wonder, not weariness, be my inheritance. You will find a beautiful question at the end of each chapter. Some will be simple, some will be uncomfortable. None are meant to be solved. They are companions for your journey and invitations to live into. As you move through this book, I invite you to begin shaping your own guiding question. How to use this book. Each chapter is an invitation into a new way of being, inviting yourself, inviting grief, inviting connection, inviting compassion, inviting anti-fragility, inviting support, and inviting others into possibility. At the end of each chapter, you will find 3 closing elements. First, the science corner, a reflection on what research tells us about why this invitation matters. Second is the poet's corner, a passage from Rilke or Whyte to deepen the pause. And the third is a beautiful question, a guiding question to live with. This book is not a manual or a quick fix. It is a companion for the pause, a series of open doors, a way of living more invitationally in a world that constantly demands, pressures, and pushes. A final word before we begin. This is your invitation to pause, to rebel against old patterns, to live your questions, and to step into the inheritance only you can create. Let's begin.